Welcome to Deges and Dragons.
I thought this was going to be hard, but...
Welcome to Deges and Dragons.
Who wants some of the Ripper?
They're state champs, baby. Woo!
He's clearly Captain Crunch. I'm a man of the people.
Shattered world.
Ripper knows. Ripper always knows.
Degecast.
Hi everyone, welcome to the Dege Time podcast. This is your host, Ripper Johnson. Hey Ron, get my AK. Yeah, you won't find me anywhere because I'm one of those covert agents. So,
I got your rifle here. Wait a minute. What the hell am I doing? What am I doing? Rifle? Ripper, what are you doing? This is my seat. This is my show. Get out of here. Hey, no.
Everywhere, Ripper knows.
No, get out of here. God, can you believe the nerve of that guy just coming in, taking my seat, sitting down, thinking he can start my show for me? No, he can't. You know why? Because he is not Nate Lindberg, and you can follow me on social media at Nate Lindberg, and you can follow our brand on social media at Degetime. That's Degetime. Now, last week we welcomed John Ripper Bishop onto the show to talk about his experience with not just Ghost Ops, but gaming and mental health in general, and, well, he wanted to come back this week, so... You know, he kind of beat me to my own seat here. However, we'll be talking to him in just a little bit. We're talking to John more about, not just Ghost Ops itself, but kind of his experience in gaming as a whole. However, before we get into all of that, you guys might notice I dropped the podcast a day early. And there's a reason for that. Why? Well, because you have the opportunity to join a Deges and Dragons game. Now, if you're listening to this on the day that I drop it, which is Friday, October 9th, 2020, this weekend, we're actually doing three Deges and Dragons games for Save Against Fear, the convention put on by the Bodhana Group. And tonight, we're running a game. Tonight being Friday night, we're running a game at 6 p.m. On Saturday, tomorrow, we are running a game at 8 p.m. And on Sunday, we're running a game at 11 a.m. All three games are going to be a game called Clink, which you guys should be familiar with if you guys remember our look at Clink a few months ago here. But we're going to be playing Clink. All of the games are going to be a Western setting. Tony will be GMing the game on today, on Friday, as well as on Sunday. Conrad will be running the game on Saturday. And here's the cool thing about the Saturday game. I'm going to be in the background on Saturday, and I'm going to be running music. I'm going to be running sound effects. I'm going to be running graphics and a bunch of other stuff. I'm going to try and make this as an immersive and as experience as possible, especially because, well, RPG gaming over Zoom just really isn't the same as RPG gaming around the table. So I want to try and make this experience unique and fun and just kind of different for everybody. So if you guys do want to join the games with us, whether it be Friday, Saturday, or Sunday, please go ahead and go over to our Twitter page at Degetime. At the very top of our feed, I've got all the information pinned, and click on the link, sign up, and we'll play. Or if you have any questions, shoot us a DM, and I'll make sure you guys get squared away. Now, without further ado, let's go back to our conversation with Conrad and Tony and John Ripper. Stealth is not my thing in real life. Like, I've never been into like the Hitman games or like Metal Gear Solid or games like that. Like, I'm usually the one like with the big bazooka running into the middle of the fray. Like, that kind of just is my natural train of thought, is not to think like stealthily. So I had to like shift gears into doing that. But obviously that's not always kind of where my mind was, as you guys will see or have seen already. My point is, that was a really big dynamic. That was a lot of fun for me. Is like me and John are just kind of doing some stupid stuff. We want to, do all this crazy things. And Nina Haas, Tony's character, kept looking at us and going, covert ops. Like, guys, and it turned into this great dynamic between us all. And I definitely appreciated that. I think it created for some, not just entertaining gameplay, but some fun gameplay. So.
Oh, absolutely. And what's ironic about that, I guess, is I'm kind of the same way. I mean, I'm a very clumsy person for one, so I don't think if I ever had the desire to go into something like, being some sort of covert secret agent or whatever, I would like knock over a pan and ruin the mission or something like that. But like, when I I play like video games, that's always my my mode. And another goofy story from my own gaming life. I think it was either from my freshman year or sophomore year. Yeah, Conrad, do you remember what was that game for PS1 that was like kind of a riff on Halo?
Yeah, I'm totally blanking.
Maybe we could figure it afterwards or something. But no, I remember I was playing that with you and a couple other people, and I charged in at that huge 500-foot tall alien, blazing, and then it just stepped on me. So.
Yeah. No, I mean, so I'm assuming, based on Ripa and that conversation, or that statement right there, stealth is not usually your cup of tea either.
No, not in the least. I mean, I am military shooting games. I just go right in. I mean, again, using Halo as an example, I play Halo. I just charge in right at the Covenant, or I remember once I was flying a Banshee, and I just crashed it into a bunch of Covenant and stuff like that. So it's that's not really my thing. So I certainly, if I took anything from me, I put that into the Ripa. So
Yeah, so I guess just to talk about the challenges of stealth. So the two of you are talking about your real selves, yourselves outside of the game, being charge in head first to these scenarios and the representation in video games as well. I won't stealth, or just why do you think that is? It's not fun, right? It's not fun for you to play stealthily, so you don't. But why do you think that's the case?
I think I might be able to answer that, because I kind of come from a mindset. I enjoy both the bombastic, just chaos of everything, but I also do appreciate really good stealth as well. But I feel they're two very different kind of fun, where you go in guns blazing, and your dopamine levels are super high through the entire event. And so you're getting enjoyment through the entire experience, where stealth is, I would say, probably a bit more stressful. But on the end side of it, if you succeed in whatever stealthy pursuit that you're doing, there's definitely a much more, I think, a higher reward, because you achieved a task that you could do in an easier fashion, just going in, guns blazing, since we're on the topic of military style shooters and whatnot. Or you can go in covertly without being seen, without being noticed, go in, get out, with no one the wiser. And you're effectively achieving the same end goal, but how you kind of achieve that, I feel, is just two different types of, just two different types of fun.
Yeah, no, I would definitely agree. I mean, I do play, I do play games like Splinter Cell, and if the game calls for it, I'll be stealthy. But I mean, I guess if I had to riff on why I'm overly cautious, so I feel in a situation like that, other than dying and having to restart, there's no risk really. So it's fun to kind of just go in and go crazy.
Yeah, and I agree with that. It's when the situation calls for it. So I'm, like I said, I've said this 1,000 times before on this show. RPG gaming is not, it wasn't ever super my cup of tea. So I mean, I'm a big video gamer, so a lot of my metaphors and stuff, I guess, kind of I relate to video games more so than RPGs. But games like Assassin's Creed, I was able to get into, especially with the stealth component, because there's so much of the, you don't always have to do stealth. You could just run in and, I was going to say guns blazing, but I guess that would be swords blazing. I guess you got a gun too, but whatever. But you could just run in and a lot of times just take everybody out if you want to, or you can stealth in, and you kind of have that option. Whereas a game like, Silent Hill, not Silent Hill,
Metal Gear Solid.
Metal Gear Solid, thank you. Game like Metal Gear Solid, is pretty much all stealth. And I think now what Tony said, whereas like it's very stressful. When you kind of like trying to hide and stay in the shadows or whatnot. That's 100% true for me. It's very stressful. When I'm playing a game, I want to relax, so I have to be in the right mindset for that. But like when I do finally succeed in those type of games, like Hitman was just recently free on the Epic Game Store, so I downloaded it and I tried playing it. I got a couple of missions in, and when I succeeded, yeah, you definitely get like that great sense of accomplishment and all that. But then the next mission takes all of that away from me because I might just start getting frustrated and stressed out again because I'm kind of hiding and everything. Then also too is kind of patience. Not that I'm not a patient person. I'm a very patient person in a lot of respects, but in a game where you just kind of have to sometimes wait. You have to wait for your target to walk past, or they might be walking slowly, or you got to wait for something. A stealth game, where you got to do a lot of waiting. I don't have the attention span for it. I'm an ADD kid. Like, I don't have the attention span for it. So I think that might be part of it too. Is just like it's not as enjoyable for me as a game where I'm constantly engaged. Where I don't know. I can't think of a good example off the top of my head, and I'm a gamer. I play games all the time. But you know what I mean? Yeah, something like that. Dishonored, or or some sort of an RPG that I can either be fully engaged, or I can take a little bit of a break, but I can play at my own pace, But I think that that definitely kind of plays into a lot of it for me anyway, is just kind of the patience level. I can't sit down and for a long period of time anyway and focus on a stealth-oriented game.
People in general, I mean, this is like the struggle with stealth games and the stealth concept and needing to wait. And if we put it into, just like real-time, real-life situations, it's really a matter of wanting to take action to solve something, right? I mean, you're presented with an issue. And in like a stealth game and stealth scenario, like it's the issue's right in front of you. It's like this target needs to be eliminated. That they're in this building. It's like, okay, like I want to accomplish my task, so I'm going to just go for it. But that's not the route. That's not the optimal route. Waiting to complete a task can be stressful, and not just stressful, but irritating. I mean, you get antsy, you get that your foot shaking. It's like, I just want to go do it and get it taken care of. Especially when it's something that you can accomplish. So it's like, okay, I have this something simple. It's like, okay, I need to add up an equation. And then someone's like, hold on though, you have to wait to get this answer. Okay, like, what am I waiting for? Like, okay, just take a breath. You can't do it yet. And that in itself is stressful, right? It's like, it's right there. It's like just out of reach of your fingertips. And it's like, okay, if I just take a step, I can do it. And that comes up in so many just like life things. I mean, school to begin with, and the ADHD experience where it's like going to class and taking in information, it's very easy to become distracted because it's not like a quick finite thing to accomplish. It's like your attention is as long as you're able to do something, and just listening is hard. And it's hard for a lot of people, even if you don't have ADHD. Just to sit and listen in itself is challenging. And I think that's what the stealth experience is as well. Like, you just kind of have to wait to accomplish something, and you may not accomplish something at all.
Right, you might have just waited for no reason.
And that in itself is daunting and frustrating. Where it's okay, just being, all I can do is wait. And you think of all these different scenarios where it's like, okay, but you just have to, we just have to wait now. And it's in those moments where I think now, like, I mean, we talk about it for PTSD, but certainly like stealth in gaming, and patience and ADHD. Like I think this game is great for that if you're challenged and you do it in a clinical way. Because a perfect example is like I have a history of a physical illness where doctors just don't know. So I constantly do exams and blood tests and all of these things, and drug trials. It's like, okay, well, we just have to wait for the results. And in that moment, it's like, what? Like, I just want to know. I just want to know the answer, and then we can move on to the next thing. But that's just not how life works. And so, a game like this, where it's like, okay, you have to wait, and going to each cart, finding out who each villain is. Like, it takes time and gathering and doing these other tasks. It's like subtasks and breaking down like one larger goal into smaller goals, and like that type of skill in itself, that is a skill to be able to take the ultimate goal. We know Serial is aboard the train trying to sabotage us. Actually, we don't know what they're doing. We know Serial's aboard the train. We don't know what they're doing. We know they're bad. Now we have to gather information, and we have to take all of these small steps to figure out who they are and what they want and who they're after. So performing this, especially looking at Ripa and Pouch, it's like we need to slow things down. And if I was using this in like a clinical way, I definitely would have been challenging them, certainly allowing them to make these decisions. And some of them worked out, some of them did not. And Tony was great and continuously reining in the other two. And it almost seemed like it was easier for Tony to be stealthy. I mean, it certainly can go either way, where, Ripa pulls Pouch into, his instincts of like, all right, yeah, like, let's just do it. Let's get in there. Versus with Valkyrie, it almost had the opposite effect, where like I see them like being so conspicuous that it makes me want to be extra patient and stealthy and try to relax them. And it's interesting that effect can happen when you see somebody performing an action. You either go along with it or oppose it.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. I definitely agree with your analysis. I mean, I know, I've never been diagnosed, but it wouldn't shock me if I were ADD, distracted very easily. So I know I can get bored easily in certain situations, but I know what I think is really funny about Ripa, there's an action that he takes later on in the game where he sort of just moves in because he has a hunch about something. And what's funny is, like, if me personally were in that situation, I would be in a state of high panic, and I would be probably calling friends or others who are nearby going, what should I do? Do you think I should do this? Was that bad? So
No, and like I think that's it. I like that how you kind of brought that up, because we've talked about that kind of quite a few different times on this show. Not necessarily this, the Ghost Ops episodes here, but on the Degecast. It's role playing allows you to explore different parts of either yourself or just the human experience that you might not be able to experience otherwise. And like you just said there, I mean, you had a hunch that somebody might be a member of Serial. You went on that hunch. We all thought you were kind of nuts at that point. Although, I mean, I had an idea that this guy might be part of Serial, but still, the way you were going about it, it's like, dude, whoa. But, that's something you might not have done in, real life or whatever, but you had that thought. In real life, you might have that thought, but you never act on it because of like the real life implications. But you went with it. You went with your gut. You rolled with it. And I mean, it turned out you were right. And, again, made for some entertaining entertaining gameplay. So nothing wrong with that.
Well, another thing I just was reminded of. I just think it shows also like the importance of good group dynamics in a game. People who are going to kind of go with what you're doing and kind of read each other, have good chemistry. Because I just remembered another story I like to tell from my early gaming days. I remember the first D&D game I ever played. I actually did take it I was like, I want to advance the story. What can I do? And I remember I was going to rescue someone, and everyone else in the group had no idea what I was doing, and someone stabbed me in the ankle. And
yes.
Oh, God.
So the scenario was this was a massive, massive game where the entire dormitory was involved in some capacity.
Yeah, it was almost too big. It was like 20 people or something, 30 people, right?
Yeah, and it wasn't all like simultaneous. Like it wasn't like a round table of like 30 people, but everybody influenced this story and like came and went throughout the nights. But it took place on the campus itself, but it was still Dungeons and Dragons and high fantasy. And there was a dragon that had descended upon the Assumption campus. And Jambi was taking the initiative as Goliath. It was like, I'm going to go ahead and distract the dragon so that the rest of you can escape. And one of the other characters, just it's like, for some reason, just shanked him.
Oh, Jesus.
And I still don't know why, but I guess it was like they didn't know what his goal was, if he was going to like join forces, or if they thought that by distracting the dragon he was going to die and this was a lesser evil. Like, I don't know what their goal was either.
I don't either.
Oh, yeah, and that screwed me up for years, by the way, because, again, not only did I not know what I was doing, I was kind of like, well, I guess if people aren't going to take me seriously in the game, I'll just goof around, and, so...
Yeah. One bad gaming experience when you're new can certainly warp your perception. That's what happened to me. I had a couple bad gaming experiences to start. I wouldn't even say bad, but they were just subpar. It kind of turned me off from gaming for a long time.
So in terms of like the bad experiences, that those can certainly hinder yourself from allowing yourself to like truly connect with the character, because like that first time that you do connect and it's like a part of you, and then somebody does something that takes away some of your power and control, and you. So, like in the case of Goliath, who was shanked by a friendly, right? Like, how do you allow yourself to be serious again after that? And it takes time, and it takes, and it's the same way with anything in life. You expose a part of yourself, like it would just be an interest. Like I'm really into anime, and somebody's like, "Oh, that's so stupid," and where I don't personally care. Somebody's
wrestling's fake, right?
Right. Oh yeah. Take Nate, and like it's probably challenged like every single day with things like that, and I'm sure initially it was like it was painful, and it cuts you off from sharing that side of you again, and it's the exact same like in life. And
I don't mean to cut you off, but just perfect example of that is I will never forget this, being a kid, and I just kind of started to think that wrestling was fake. Like I kind of started getting that idea in my head on my own, and there was a kid in our class, Conrad. He was the other Paul. He left, I think, in 4th grade, and he says to me, he's like, "Oh, what? You think wrestling's real?" Because like I still had that I didn't want to believe it was fake. And he's like, "You think wrestling's real, dude? You know it's fake." And And I'll never forget him going, dude, I know it's fake. And I just did everything to defend it. Like I was and I stopped talking about wrestling for a while after that. Eventually I got back into it, but like it was just kind of this, I didn't want to believe it. So like, yeah, I just kind of wanted to throw that in there, like perfect example of what you were talking about.
Yeah, and so it's really the same both in tabletop gaming and in life, where in the tabletop game, when you create a character and you create a part of yourself and you allow other people to see that, but then when you have that like real backlash, then you go back to hiding it and you feel bad about yourself. So both with that example of Nate's primary interest that we all know as listeners, wrestling, when it was challenged like that as a young kid, then really retreated and felt bad about liking it and felt bad about what it was. So it's important, I think, with tabletop gaming, to look at these things in a clinical way, where we open up these parts of ourselves, and when other people do something, it's not even necessarily fighting, because like that can be fun, but just something that negatively impacts your revealing of a part of yourself, then you don't want to do that anymore. Yeah. And tabletop gaming is just a great way to reveal ourselves in like a safe place and in like a fantastical way, and then in proper clinical setting to process it. But then when it's met with validation and approval, you fall deeper into that character, and and I think that was really on display in Ghost Ops, where the dynamic between the three characters, everybody, even though Valkyrie's like, shut up, like they're gonna hear us, but it's still like they're this team, and that's natural for them. And the way that it's like, oh, like I always got to be the one to like be the stealth one, and it wasn't like, oh, woe is me. It was just kind of like, this is my duty as part of this team. And likewise, pushing over a shipping container, that's part of the Aussie's job. Like, that's not necessarily part of their training or on the docket, since it's a feat of strength that's incredibly loud. But if that's something that needs to get done, that's something they do. And
which, by the way, I still don't know how that didn't derail the train.
Yeah, no, right. I don't know either. But
proprietary technology.
But I think that's right. And I mean, you guys, are friends in real life, but anyone who doesn't know me, who's listening, I mean, I still struggle with it for my whole life, particularly high school, college. I really, really struggled with self-confidence. I'm not by nature a confident person. I'm very like anxious and I mean, this is true of a lot of people, but I know, like, for me, I just really need to feel accepted by people, right? So, so that's exactly right. I mean, I go in, I tried this, and I felt shut down, and I took that very hard, and I was like, well, I'm just gonna, again, even though I didn't know what I was doing, I'm just gonna go and do this other stuff. It took me really a long time before I felt comfortable, really not only with myself, but with gaming. And, I'm at the point now where I'm interested in, I'm a writer, so I want to hear how the story is coming out. I like being, being a living part of that story. But again, like I said earlier, I feel like I've struck that balance of being, wanting to have this desire to make the group laugh, but also, how can I advance the story and play a part in the story? And you're right, I feel like that really came through with Rippa, and the dynamic of, say, with with Tony trying to reel us in, and then so I thought it was a lot of fun.
All right, guys, I guess that brings us to the end of this episode here tonight. John, I want to say thank you one more time for bringing Rippa to life and joining us here on the Degecast.
Yeah, no problem. It was a lot of fun. Really great talking to you guys about our game that we played. It was so much fun bringing Rippa to life. And, I think he's one of the more memorable characters I created. So it was a lot of fun just talking about how he came to be and how the dynamics of the game played out. Thank you to Feral Games, too, for making this. I know me personally, I thought it was a lot of fun.
Awesome. Glad to hear it, man.
Yeah,
Okay.
thanks for being here. Rippo
Right,
will definitely be a memorable character for years to come.
Yes, he has been immortalized.
He's been immortalized in the Degecast intro.
That's all right.
Absolutely. Well, Tony, Nate, Conrad, thank you again, and I will talk to you guys soon.
All right, man. Take care. Have a good one, man.
Yeah,
You too.
Later.
Hey, man.
Bye.